Welcome to Brainstoryum. I'm Anna Tizard, award-winning dream punk and deeply weird fantasy author. And yes, that's me and my fiction that's deeply weird. Explore and imagine with me the most unexpected story ideas using the surrealist word game of Exquisite Corpse. Find out more and join in at annatizard.com. This is a storytelling challenge unlike anything you've tried before. Hello, imaginative people. I'm Anna Tizard, and this is episode 58 of Brainstoryum. Now, following the strange connections I discovered between the story ideas in the last show, which I only really picked up on at the end, I have some thoughts to share with you about the workings of the unconscious mind and how writing can help you get in touch with the mysteries that lie just beneath the surface. For the art of writing is a discovery process, a journey which can reveal what might otherwise remain hidden from you. And I'll talk a little bit about why I think short story writing in particular can help you develop your skills and voice as a writer much more quickly than you might if you spend all your writing time on just one longer piece, like a novel. But it won't be long before I reach into the socks of destiny once more to explore 3 new story ideas for your inspiration. So let's get on with the show. Now, at the end of episode 57, it was very weird how I was just tying up and summarising the 3 new story ideas that I talked about when I discovered a connection between all these otherwise very different ideas I'd explored. They all had something to do with secret knowledge. And I almost missed this because they were otherwise so different. I mean, am I on a quest for secret knowledge without having consciously realised this? Or do I see my experiments in writing and story brainstorming as a kind of expedition into the realms of the mind that will give me and enable me to share with you some kind of esoteric knowledge? I like this idea. I should start a podcast on this idea. Oh, wait. But thinking along these lines about how our unconscious preoccupations may reveal themselves through our writing, I admit it has occurred to me on occasion. Could someone psychoanalyze me based on one of my books or stories one day and find something inherently dodgy or just unexpected, something about me that I don't identify with, that I might not think is true? It could be through a metaphor I didn't realise that I was using, some kind of unintended symbolism that slipped in that might make me blush. I'm sure I'm not the only author that wonders this from time to time. But as a writer of strange fictions, and particularly as a discovery writer who likes to open up to whatever ideas might arise, seemingly of their own accord, I am, shall we say, open to what my unconscious mind might be telling me, even if I might not recognise what those signs and symbols are until the ideas are written. Like in episode 57, it was only at the end of the show when I looked back and realised the connections between the stories were on the theme of secret knowledge. But while there may be potential trappings presented by this, or you might say paranoia, it is fiction after all. I'm so fascinated by the unconscious mind and by the apparent magic of the imagination to just come up with things that I will always want to follow the white rabbit. And in any case, No one's forcing you to share a story idea until you're ready for other people to hear it or read it. Unless, of course, you're slightly bonkers like me and you decide to brainstorm stories more or less live on a podcast. And then they're out there. But the opportunity presented by this phenomenon of discovering hidden connections, to me, far outweighs any niggling paranoia that I might have about other people psychoanalyzing my fiction. To me, this phenomenon demonstrates one of the main advantages of writing short stories in particular to develop yourself as a writer. It's not just about getting plenty of practice that will hone your skills and techniques. It's about learning what your underlying preoccupations are as an author in an organic, spontaneous way. You might start out already knowing that you want to write in a certain genre, be it contemporary fantasy, cozy mysteries, thrillers, whatever. But there are likely to be other themes, deeper threads that trickle through your writing, that affect your unconscious choices of characters and situations, right down to the way you describe detail, like a psychological imprint that makes your writing unique. And in my opinion, there's no better way to discover this than to write lots of different things. Experiment. Exercise your imagination. Pull it about like it's made of putty. Try writing prompts on the least expected subjects, and I think you know where to find those by now. And in time, you will be able to look back and gauge what your unique psychological imprint is. What defines your voice and your obsessions as a storyteller? It's likely to be a mixture of various things. For me, it's portals, entries into other worlds, and magic intruding upon this one, which is basically what contemporary fantasy is, but blended with this obsession I have with the unconscious mind and ways in which our minds might be connected. I've even imagined the collective unconscious as if it were a place, and this features in my first 2 books in my series, the Book of Exquisite Corpse, but in completely different stories and contexts. My writing is also preoccupied with themes of facing fear and anxiety, but translated into strange or magical forms. I'm very aware that some of my deeper struggles with stress in real life and philosophical, although you might say spiritual, battles feed into my writing, but always a stride or two away from anything that's too personal or too real to me. I'm ultimately writing fantasy that's relatable to other people who've experienced equivalent stress, fear, anxiety, haven't we all? My characters are not me, but I've come to appreciate that they contain aspects of me, morphed into other personalities and presented with very different situations. If you write widely enough, if you explore enough, you will come to know yourself and show yourself through your fiction. They do say that knowledge is power, but writing with an attitude of discovery will bring you self-knowledge, which may help you on your real-life journey as well as in your writing one. So that was deeply weird. I think it's time to get playful again and discover what lies within the socks of destiny. That's right. And for those who haven't listened before, Exquisite Corpse creates a bizarre sentence by mixing your words, and the sentence structure goes describing word noun, action, describing word noun. So let's see what lies in wait in the describing word sock. This is from Sean, also known as Blue Wizard Facts on X. Fluffy. Let's try for a noun. This is from Alessandro Bozzo. Ifrit. Okay, I did have to look this up just to be sure. It is a powerful trickster demon who can grant wishes and also trick you into wrongdoing. So it feels a bit like an evil genie who doesn't necessarily need a bottle. Okay, let's try for an action. This is also from Alessandro Bozzo. Held the ladder for. Ooh, it just feels like a scene beginning to make itself. I wonder if this one is going to make sense. I mean, they always end up making some kind of sense, but with a little work. Right, our next word is from Rebecca Gleisner. Thieving. Ooh, this is starting to make sense. Right, I'm just gonna, hold your horses. I'm just gonna get the last word and see what we have. This is from Wendy. It's not gonna make sense. Corn dog. So altogether, we have the fluffy Ifrit held the ladder for the thieving corn dog. That was just about to make perfect sense until we reached corn dog. Still, I think I'd be disappointed if there wasn't some kind of challenge. That's part of the fun, isn't it? Okay, Fluffy. The fluffy Ifrit held the ladder for the thieving corn dog. I'm thinking, since we're talking about a demon, fluffy doesn't necessarily mean furry or hairy. I want to ask, why is this Ifrit covered in fluff? It makes me think, where has he been? Somewhere dusty, like a loft. Maybe I'm thinking of a loft because there's a ladder involved. And so it's making me think of places that are high up. But why would an Ifrit, a demon who presumably has spirit form and can float or fly, want to use a ladder? Is this daylight robbery? If a spirit uses a ladder and can wear clothes, anyone watching will assume that they're human. And if we're thinking along the lines of disguises, a thieving corn dog could be something very different. Disguised as a corn dog? I'm not sure. A ladder and a corn dog are both very ordinary objects. They hint at ordinary circumstances that no one's going to bat an eyelid at. So it does feel a bit like daylight robbery. The fluffy Ifrit held the ladder for the thieving corn dog. And yes, I'm going to use the pause button. He's been in dingier places than this, slipping beneath the floorboards thinner than smoke, haunting the hollows of cavity walls. But in the long flat spaces between a ceiling and a roof space, that was the most likely place. The search had gone on for months, but now, in winter, the time must be near. And this time he'd taken human form, and people were welcoming him into their homes, all worried about pests, the scritching and the scratching. Raina snorted. His cousin Ruby always did prefer to take the form of a rat whenever she was in a panic. And without the food of the Ifrits, outside the company of her fellow Ifrits, Ruby's body would keep shifting back to its preferred form. The longer she stayed on the run, the more she'd be bound to her physical body, becoming more rat-like with time. Ifrits could fly fast and easy, get through impossibly tiny holes, and even possess another body. Rats could run and hide. They were cunning. But she would be getting tired by now, and she would be more a rat, less like an ifrit with each passing week. Was it worth it? Rainer sneered at the dust gathering on his clothes, brushing it off before pushing his way up the loft ladder. It was bad enough having to lug this clumsy human body around, his true ifrit form, just a small flame shrunken inside his chest where his human heart should be, threatening to set light to it all at any moment. But these clothes and the dust, fragments of dead skin were everywhere he turned. What a place to hide. "Will you be all right up there?" The woman called up to him from the landing, clutching the cup of coffee she'd made, despite Rainer saying he didn't need any. "It's fine." He turns just enough to throw a forced smile over his shoulder, more a wince. "It's all part of pest control. Rats and mice get everywhere, so we get everywhere." He hauled himself through what must have been the 10th loft hatch and saw her, 2 eyes glinting in the dark. A rat clutching a corn dog, but Rainer knew what was hidden inside. The Ifrit Queen's jewels. "You thieving little..." I'll stop there. There's a lot of ideas starting to draw together. Basically, I think that the cousin of this Ifrit has stolen the Ifrit Queen's jewels and is hiding away as a rat with the jewels stuffed inside a corn dog. So the fluffy Ifrit, fluffy with dust from going into people's lofts in human form, held the ladder in order to get to the thieving corn dog, or the corn dog which the thief is using to hide its plunder. Complicated? Yes, but this is only a beginning, a little flash of something. And puzzling through all this, trying to find reasons for the details, has caused me to create an underworld. Well, just an initial impression of an underworld, of demons who shapeshift. And there are limits to their powers of shapeshifting, in that they can get stuck in whatever form they've chosen if they roam too far away from their own kind and start eating food of our world, like corn dogs. Maybe it was the sharp contrast between an Ifrit, a demon, and the banality of a corn dog that got my mind chewing this over. Whenever you're thinking about magic and powers, I think it's always useful to consider how those powers are limited. I personally think that the limitations of powers are more intriguing and open the way to more suspenseful storytelling than the actual powers themselves. The trappings, the safety issues, and other difficulties they may cause a character who's trying to get away or trying to get something or achieve something. It's probably why the concept of superhero movies kind of bores me, unless it's clear from the outset that the superhero is very troubled and very ordinary in a way and struggles to get to grips with their powers. It's a theme that does come up a fair bit, maybe less so with these big movies where they throw all these superhero characters together. I quite like Batman Begins for that reason, and a couple of the Spider-Man movies, but on the whole, the genre doesn't really grab me. Anyway, time for another Exquisite Corpse, I think. Our first word is from Paul Benfield, quivering. It's interesting because this is one of the reasons why I say describing word instead of adjective, because it doesn't, strictly speaking, have to be an adjective. It can be a word like this. Quivering is technically a form of verb, but it works perfectly well when you plonk it in front of a noun. And in the broadest sense of the word, it is a describing word because it describes. what comes next. So what does come next is from Paul Thomas, Silhouette. Ah, I like that, a quivering silhouette. Let's try for an action. This is from Alessandro Bozzo. Okay, this is weird. Basks in the warm afternoon sun with. What is a quivering silhouette doing? Basking in the afternoon sun, and who with? This is from Paul Thomas again. Plummeting. Ooh, again, another kind of an action for a describing word. Works perfectly well. It adds a bit more action as well. And the final, oops, I'm throwing them on the floor now. The final word is from Rebecca Glazner. Alien. So we have altogether, I think I'm going to have to pour my green tea in a second. The quivering silhouette basked in the warm afternoon sun with the plummeting alien. Lots going on there. Okay, I really do think I need some green tea. So let's give this a bit of a stir. Okay. The quivering silhouette basked in the warm afternoon sun with the plummeting alien. The quivering silhouette makes me think of a person's shadow, someone who's frightened, disturbed, or freezing cold. And if you bask in the sun and you plummet and quiver all at once, then you've probably just found somewhere quiet and sunny in which to have a good cry. You're an emotional wreck. Plummeting could be emotional language, a metaphor for how that feels, how despair feels, or grief. But I'm looking for action and change, for the seeds of a story. I could try and find a reason why this person, this alien, is so upset that even its shadow is quivering as it plummets. And that is a way in if that inspires you. But I'm drawing a blank on that. I'm struggling to put together these three actions, basking in the sun, quivering and plummeting all at once. I guess if it's the end of the world and you're lying on a beach while the planet you're on is plummeting through space, that's technically a way to solve it. But that's not grabbing me. It feels like a tragic ending rather than the beginning of something. So which part of the Exquisite Corpse piques my interest the most? As a doorway in, it's got to be the quivering silhouette basking in the sun. I think this shadow idea has to be the key for me. It was when she was in the museum gift shop that Alice felt the cold finger against her back. She flinched, spun round and saw no one, just a couple on the other side of the shop with their young child, huddled around a jigsaw puzzle with a meteorite design on the front of the box. Alice kept turning, searching for someone else or anything that might have poked her in the back. She must have been mistaken. Out on the street, she strolled towards the park, feeling shivery despite the hot weather. She was still finding her way around the city, and although going to local museums wasn't the best way to meet people, before she even started her new job here, she'd made a list of all the main places to visit and which any local would know about. An outsider, that's what she didn't want to be. Yet there were times when she wondered if she would ever belong. Another shiver ran through her, as if that cold finger were inside her spine. Not looking back, not wanting to appear strange in the middle of the street, Alice quickened her pace. These high-rise buildings cast such shadows. People here just barricaded themselves from all natural light. The park, that's where she needed to go. Then she'd get some lunch, maybe some hot soup. The afternoon sun lit up the field, a vivid green. Rubbing her arms against the chill that spread its ugly tentacles through her veins, Alice hurried to a free space and lay down, not caring if she got grass stains on her white top. But it was when her back touched the ground that she sensed something was wrong. She pinched her eyes shut against the sun, even behind her sunglasses, but a sensation of a downward swoop in her stomach made her sit up, blinking. A feeling like she was falling, plummeting through space, as if the ground beneath her didn't feel solid. Next to her, the stripe of her shadow wriggled and pulled. So where might this go next? The quivering silhouette basked in the warm afternoon sun with the plummeting alien. I'm not sure if Alice is the alien, someone who feels like an outsider, who struggles to feel like they belong. Why? That's a bit of character development to explore, which I'd probably do next before writing any more, because it will surely be tied in with what this creature is inside her and how it came to be inside her. Is she possessed by something? Not quite possessed. I think she's picked up something, a kind of shadow creature from the museum. She's brushed past some ancient relic, or maybe an alien presence. The ghost of an alien? Why not mash together ghosts and aliens? And this plummeting sensation might be to do with what's happening to the alien now, or what happened to them in the past if they are a ghost in our usual way of thinking. There are so many directions you could take this, but let's have one more exquisite corpse. Okay, let's make it good. First word is from Wendy. Weak-willed. I do like a psychological describing word sometimes. And next we have a noun from Rebecca Glazner. Insurance consultant. I wonder what that means. As an insurance consultant. Ooh, could that mean fraud or something? I don't know. The action is from Alessandro Bozzo. Gave a bouquet of flowers to. I seem to remember we had some flowers in the last show, but I'll think back. Anyway, the next word is from Eric Montgomery. Joking. And the final word, who or what was joking? This is from Lee. Waterfall. Right, okay. So the entire Exquisite Corpse is the weak-willed insurance consultant gave a bouquet of flowers to the joking waterfall. Yes, there were flowers being given in the last show, but that led That led to a murder with a very unusual motive. This feels very different. If we just ignore the fact that it doesn't make any sense, for now, weak-willed makes it sound like the insurance consultant is giving these flowers rather sheepishly. It feels like an apology or a very poor excuse for not having done something properly. But what is a joking waterfall? A waterfall that isn't real or isn't natural? I wonder, what about those water slides and water parks? A joking waterfall? People often laugh when they go down those slides, especially if the slide or the park on the whole has some crazy, amusing designs designed to make you laugh. But I'm not getting the spark yet for a story idea. I need conflict. I need the pause button. A joking waterfall. He laid the white stem roses at the edge of the pool. Even from this distance of several feet, the waterfall hammered the water underneath so hard that drops splashed onto his cheeks, mixing with his tears. So young to just go like that. He wouldn't think the word that made it final. They hadn't found her body, but it had been 10 days now. To think that this lush Tropicana, so bursting with life, could also be so harsh. Now that Terry glanced around at the plants, even the leaves seemed to bend into evil-looking spikes, and the mouth of that cave behind the waterfall that the search team had been through again and again. Alone at last with the horrifying thought that Charlie was lost forever, he saw the menace in the blushing pink of an open flower, of these cascades of ivy-like creepers clinging to the upper edges of the cave's surround. They all gathered and leaned towards it, seeking the water droplets with a never-ending thirst. The cave gaped behind the waterfall's rush, a hungry mouth. Feeling a sudden pull, Terry stumbled forward a step, resisting. His foot knocked one of the stem roses over the mossy ledge, and silently it dropped into the water. For almost a minute it drifted on the surface, as if desiring nothing more than a gentle rest. But the hammering sheet of foam was an irresistible draw. Spinning for a wild second, the rose was sucked beneath the waterfall and was gone. Only a white petal remained scattered, dawdling where it caught against a weed. Terry was rooted to the spot, feeling as if he'd just witnessed a replay of what happened to Charlie as she lazed in the pool, reenacted by a single rose. Helpless to the power of that waterfall. And he felt it now, his muscles tensing against the desire to just jump in. He leaned forward, his knees slightly bent. From the depths of the water, a white hand rose. What next? Originally, the idea that was playing around the edges of my imagination was simply that this was a portal to another world. The beloved Charlie has crossed over into another realm. I was thinking you could develop the beginning to wind in mentions of some local ancient legends about this. Maybe it's considered a sacred place. But then I thought, portals are one of my obsessions, yes, but why not go beyond that and try and find something different? I do this sometimes. I try resisting my own obvious path to see where else an idea might take me. And in a way, maybe that feeling of resistance translated into Terry's resistance at the edge of the pool. It's funny how your own psychology and mental states can seep through. You just have to turn them into something more interesting and imagine other people, other characters experiencing that in their own very different context. So, after an Ifrit with a ladder, a dusty Ifrit with a ladder, a woman possessed by a shadow, and a deadly waterfall, which word combination shall I invite you to brainstorm? How about the quivering silhouette? I do like that one. Give it a go. Surprise me with your interpretation. It only needs to be between 1 and 3 sentences long. Either just explain it or give me a little glimpse of a scene or a character you're imagining. Get in touch with me at annatizard.com. Just hit the contact button and tell me what you think. Let your unconscious mind rise up and show you what it is you really think about this exquisite corpse. Until next time, go forth and be inspired. I hope you enjoyed today's Brainstoryum. You can find out more about Exquisite Corpse and my series, The Book of Exquisite Corpse, at annatizard.com. Subscribe to my e-newsletter and you'll get Volume 1 for free. And while you're there, why not submit a few words to the Socks of Destiny on my play page? You may inspire me or inspire yourself to write a unique new story. See you next time.